do all different subjects.
Hello and welcome to Sandwich Seniority. I'm your host, Robie Haig. Thank you for being here. Today I will be talking with Pat Hunt and Mark Hunt, who appropriately have a business called HuntStock. Good morning, and
Hi,
it's wonderful
how are
to
you?
see you.
Nice to see you
Morning.
too.
Thank you. So we will get started with a little about yourself. Mark, you began this, did you?
Probably about 6 or 7 years ago, I was working for one of the stock agencies, and they asked me to produce a photo disc, which was sort of a common way of people getting images then. And they asked me to produce a disc of people with disabilities. So I started researching, calling around, finding models, people that would be interested. And, we did, I probably photographed maybe 6 to a dozen different people and produced the disc for them. And in the course of doing that, I just realized that it was sort of an underserved, part of the industry. The photos really weren't there. And I think that's one of the reasons why they asked me.
Yeah.
And so, just took it upon myself to keep in contact with some of those people and worked with them again. And, just slowly over time started to create a collection of images that have it.
It's amazing how things get started, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, to back up a little bit, HuntStock is an image production company, and we create video and still imagery for use in basically any kind of publishing, from advertising to textbook use to corporate and PR use. And lifestyle is the most needed subject within that realm. And like he described, we got involved in the subject of lifestyle of people with disabilities sort of offhanded, and found that there was such a need for it, and more importantly, that it was fun for us. Because we were tasked with meeting a whole new group of people that we didn't necessarily have reason to look into before, and find that the lifestyle and the abilities of certain people and the things that they do is truly amazing and fun.
We need to get away from disabilities and concentrate on abilities.
Right.
Yeah. I've dealt with people of that nature in the past, and it's nice that you are part of this, so that basically what you do, I don't want to say you do videos, you actually do pictures of these people. So how do you go about this?
Well, I'll let him, he's the photographer, so I'll let him
Well, we do shoot video as well. We've been doing that for a while. The technology has gotten a lot better in that area, so that the camera that I use for stills produces video as well.
Oh.
So it's, the technology is great.
Yeah.
But in terms of the people, as Pat was saying, it's become it's a network of a lot of people sort of know each other through the fact they have disabilities, and then there's these organizations that exist that help, with the activities. I just did a water skiing event up in Merrimack, Mass, last week, and there's just lots of organizations that set up to do this. And
That actually help you?
Oh yeah. We're partnering with them to share our images, let them have access to them so they can use them for their own promotion, and also to the people involved, we give them the pictures as well.
Sure.
And we're able to use the pictures for our collection. So it's sort of a win-win-win.
Very good. So what do you do with your collection? What do you do with your pictures?
You and I got to talking about this. The whole point was not about our production company HuntStock, was that we decided after years of doing this, we have such an interesting body of work, we think, that we separate that out completely with all the other lifestyle we do, and it's strictly positive lifestyle of people with disabilities. So we seldom shoot in a hospital or anyone looking like they're having a problem. Ours is about empowered, accessible lifestyle. So and the most important thing, I think, in our byline is images you can trust, because in this industry, it's very common for a production company to take a model, stick them in a wheelchair, and call them disabled.
Right.
You know, and that's not, and it looks fake, but they do it on TV all the time. They do it in movies, and people who have any particular issues are rather annoyed when they see that.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not about, when there are plenty of able-bodied actors who could actually play the role,
Sure.
who may really have the issue. So the problem for us has been the fun, but the problem has been to network enough and meet enough people. I mean, it's not atypical for me to meet a couple of our models I've met just at the Stop and Shop, my local Stop and Shop.
Right.
One fellow was in there as a veteran, passing out veterans information. He's in a wheelchair, so I introduced myself and told him what I do. He's been one of our favorite models ever since.
Oh, wonderful.
We pay these models to do this, so
Very good.
it's a lot of fun for them. And another young woman I met who works there was passing out information, and I saw she was on crutches and she has cerebral palsy. So we've had a lot of fun working with her and her mother too. And we either photograph them in their real realm, like day in the life of, or we have them actually model for us and put them in a scenario we come up with. Realistic, albeit maybe not their particular scenario. They're acting like an actor or a model.
Sure.
So they learn overnight how to act.
Very good. But, you know, speaking as a member of the community, who would dream that you would be doing pictures of handicapped people? But at one time, they weren't even permitted to work in the supermarket. So progress is wonderful, isn't it?
Well, it is. And I think it's only in the last few years that there's been so much accessibility available and so many more jobs available.
Right.
There are whole industries based around designing street access and designing homes. I mean, we've photographed a lot of accessibility in terms of the kitchen, where everything is at the right level, and the stove functions at the right level, and the sink, and all the other facilities in the home. We've covered so many of those areas just so people can see that, what home access is like, what home electronics is like, what home bathrooms are like, what it's like to vacuum a floor from a wheelchair.
Sure.
What it's like. I mean, there isn't anything you can't do.
Right.
We really try to represent people doing leading normal lives, leading companies, having children of all age, no matter what their issue might be, doing extreme sports of all kinds. I mean, we work with one woman who's in her 50s and jumps out of airplanes.
Yeah,
and
really.
she was the one water skiing.
Yeah, she went water skiing, and,
Wow.
and she brought a woman with her.
She has a prosthetic leg.
In fact, she had lost her leg to cancer 2 years earlier. She's 64, I think, but she had said that she jumped out of a plane, which I couldn't believe, but she showed me on her phone, so
Wow.
I had to believe it.
So,
And she brought a woman with her who had jumped out of a plane with her. She convinced her to do that, but she was not really comfortable water skiing, which I thought was like, wait a minute, you're jumping out of a plane and you don't want to just slide along water.
It shows you we're all so different, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But she did it, and she did great, and she didn't fall, which I thought, she was really proud of. But I think that the challenges are, we all have challenges in our lives, but
Absolutely.
when you have a disability, I think, sometimes you might feel even more challenged, obviously, but they're proving otherwise that, that they can do it.
So basically what you're both doing is informing us that everybody is able.
Well, right, I think that what I do find out is these people tend to be more appreciative of life.
Oh, yes.
And so you start to think about yourself and wonder, what did I ever complain about?
I've come home more than once realizing how easy I have it. I mean, it's a truth that
it
perspective gives you that. I photographed a gentleman named Ray Grand who contracted spinal meningitis when he was 14. He just turned 30, so he's been in a wheelchair for 16 years, but he was just telling me his story and how he felt grateful for his condition, because spinal meningitis can cause death, can cause brain damage, and he was in a room with a young man who contracted, and he had brain damage.
Yeah.
And Ray just said, "Oh, that could be me."
Right.
And so I
Isn't
really
it
found the
amazing?
perspective
Yeah.
a really profound one.
Yeah. So,
I mean, we've covered many things: spina bifida, cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, multiple sclerosis, Down syndrome, almost. I mean, Friedreich's ataxia. You're in it long enough, and people keep coming up with new issues
right.
that they have.
Right.
And,
Well, I have a friend who has been very interested in being part of what you're doing, but we could never get it together. And he's been in a wheelchair for many years, but he's very articulate.
Really,
Yeah. And he would just be wonderful with you. But you know, it's you can't always get it together. We're always so
Yeah, we're a busy society.
busy.
Yeah.
We have our shoes in the cleaners, as a friend of mine used
Well,
to say.
what he was alluding to is we do try to co-create some value by collaborating with nonprofits. We've been working recently with PYD.
Partners for Youth with Disability,
Disabilities
really
in
great
Boston.
organization, finds jobs for people with disabilities and mentoring.
Waypoint Adventures, who does a lot of the sports. He will give them imagery for free of their events, allowing us to occasionally pick out a few that are generic for our use.
Excellent.
And
Excellent.
so they get things for free, and we get as long as the model is willing to sign a model release.
Wonderful.
The advantage of what we do is we're looking for an image that's not about a particular person, but that person represents a concept. So the concept is accessibility or leading a family or doing business or something. So we have to do a lot of post-production, which a TV station would understand. We have to go in and clean all of the trademarks and logos out of the images. There can't even the big N on the sneakers or something. There can't be anything that
Really?
alludes to any other company at all, because if it's used in an advertisement, it can't have any other company represented.
Sure.
So even on wheelchairs, there tends to be tiny writing down in the little spokes and all on the wheels. All of that has to come out.
Sure. So you're very attuned to that, as we need to be attuned to the fact that handicapped people can be part and are part of our community.
Oh, I mean, a very active part. And
Well, what you said before is true. Sorry to interrupt. When growing up, you know, people with disabilities were really, you know, relegated to
The background.
the background, exactly. And I know that even when you were young, it was difficult for someone who maybe had a friend with a disability. You still felt uncomfortable because society didn't really give you that natural feeling that this is still just a person
Exactly.
with a disability. And thankfully, you know, we've become much more aware as a society in many areas, not just this area, but certainly in disability. People respect that now. I think
Yeah, and the lack of respect, I do believe, was because people, the general public, would see someone who was disabled and automatically think that it came from the brain.
Right.
yeah,
Never been so, but you know, they wouldn't give people a chance to speak, to understand what this person was all about. And I do remember at one point that a minister of ours did a sermon on, it's not polite to stare. I have never forgotten it, because when you stare, you're looking at only one part of the human being.
Right.
yeah.
So it's good that that has gone away, and the general public is aware that people who may look different are still very interesting and worthwhile and articulate and
Oh, we're really
hold
a lot of fun.
positions that other people wouldn't
Surprise
think
you,
of.
yeah.
We have a good friend who had a stroke some years ago, and he developed aphasia, which I had never heard of. I didn't know
Yeah.
anything about that, and it was pretty, you know, eye-opening in the sense that he could understand everything we were saying, but he couldn't communicate it back. And I had
Right.
known him for so many years, and we had many conversations, and
Yeah.
it really took me a while to sort of get that. I think it's a difficult adjustment
It is.
to make. And I know that for the, just for the average person, it would be difficult as well. But having known him for so long, I realized that this is the same person. It's just he can't communicate.
You
the way
had to
he
work
used
at it.
I had to work at it, right.
Right, right.
But,
Which is wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of my favorites was the fellow we worked with Down syndrome. It had affected his cognitive abilities. But I think if you're a young fellow and you live at home with your mother, you sort of live to the lowest common denominator with your mother. Right? So when he got on camera with us, he turned into a whole different person.
Sure.
He was animated and intelligent and bright and used his electronics and was an excellent basketball player and a number of things we photographed him doing. And his mother later said, I don't even know who that is. I don't recognize that person.
Right.
Yeah. So there's an awful lot people don't show that they can give.
Absolutely.
That's why one of the reasons why we do enjoy doing the shoots is it really does bring out more of the person.
Right.
Paying attention, you're the star. It
Yes.
really does, I think, help self-esteem
Sure.
issues as well.
What a wonderful feeling it's got to be for somebody who has been in the background.
Exactly.
You know?
Tom, I remember Tom saying, a fellow we work with in a wheelchair who, a TV show was done about him, and he was talking about the fact that he was kind of blasé in life before he had his accident.
Yeah.
And then I think he had a rethink about life and has been very engaged ever since he's been in his wheelchair. And there isn't a sport he hasn't tried or a place he hasn't traveled.
Excellent.
Very active guy.
And not only are you taking pictures, taking photographs of these people, you are showing them a great deal about what is out there. And I'm sure you're helping them as much as they're helping you. So,
I hope so.
what do you do? What basic? Well, number one, I want to ask: where do you do your photography? Do you go to these people, or do they come to you in a studio?
It's all of the above. We travel to their locations. If someone can't really get around too well, we totally go to their location, and
Wonderful.
if they'll allow us in their home, Tom has let us in his home more than once, and we have done them in his bedroom, in his bathroom, and vacuuming, and we enjoy that. We photographed Miss Massachusetts Wheelchair,
Miss
Wheelchair Massachusetts. She lives in Quincy, that area.
Oh.
Went to her home, and the accessibility factor. That's all part of what we're
That
trying
you
to.
and I wouldn't think of, really.
Exactly. But we like location as well when we can. Like I did the water skiing and the rock climbing recently, and those were exciting because
Sure.
I hadn't been to the Quincy quarries since I was young, and they're filled in, and there's grass, and it's all the graffiti's everywhere.
Really?
Yeah, that was exciting because Chronicle showed up as well, and they did a
how
nice
nice.
piece on Tom and
Very
his
good.
mentor,
So
Eric.
do they actually belay these guys? That
They developed the company Waypoint Adventures developed a system where you can pull, and I don't understand the technology part of it, but when you pull, you then it keeps you in that position. Then you could raise the bar again, and so you slowly bring yourself up because he had no leg movements.
Oh, okay.
So they put him in kind of a harness.
Wow.
So he uses all his upper body strength to
Yeah.
pull himself up, and up he went. So
Amazing.
yeah,
Amazing.
it was great.
So then again, how do you disperse these pictures after the photography session? How do you get people to use them?
Well, we've always used commercial distributors for this purpose. We launched the website disabilityimages.com in order to hope to go directly to clients. And one of the biggest needs, I think, is in the textbook industry. There are a lot of textbook companies and book companies in this country who are in need of this kind of imagery, even have a mandate to use a certain amount of this kind of imagery in their books. So that's because the distributors don't tell us where the work goes. They might send us an invoice of in general where it went, but never telling us who the client is. So now we prefer to work directly with people because it's just going to give us more knowledge into what's needed.
Excellent.
Right, and to hopefully co-create, with some of the groups that need the images
Yeah.
that are involved. We'll say, look, we'd love to shoot with you, create more imagery that we'll let you have access to, and just
Sure.
try to grow the collection through collaboration.
Very good.
Any 501c3, any nonprofit organization in general is welcome but to contact us and use the images at a discount. Some we will trade for free with.
Very good. So speaking of contacting you, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, we have emails, pat@disabilityimages.com or mark@disabilityimages.com.
Very
Probably
good.
the easiest way, and it says that right on the website.
Wonderful.
Tells about us.
So anyone who is watching the show can contact you directly. It sounds like you're doing an absolutely fantastic thing.
Well,
I find it very exciting that this is
Yeah.
happening.
It's a lot of fun. I mean, we will work with a lot of different things that you might not think of as a disability. I mean, we recently were photographing elders in Florida, and one fellow's walking around on a cane. I asked him why. He said he had polio when he was young.
There you
That
go.
qualifies for this website.
Absolutely.
Polio,
That's
so.
fantastic. Well, it's amazing, but a half hour goes by rapidly.
Well, thank you for giving us this opportunity. It was
Well,
fun.
I thank you for giving all of us the opportunity to hear what it is you do and how exciting it is that, new and different, and we all like to know about that.
It is
So it's a
fun.
pleasure talking to both of you, and thank you for being here.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And thank you out there for being part of Sandwich Seniority. And this is Robbie Haig, your host, and we're hoping to see you again real soon.